Hello, I'm Bruce Zimmerman, and this is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week. Invasive species we've heard a lot about in the last, 10, 15 years, but never have we ever seen as many as we have recently. We've had the invasion of the Asian lady beetles, imported from Asia to go into greenhouses to control aphids in the far south, Louisiana, etc., and been carried north all the way up following the Ohio Valley winds and the soybean, aphid, and crops. As a result, we now have a ton of Asian lady beetles, which, that might be good, except they also bite people. And so if you know you got a lady beetle on you, you have to be able to tell whether or not it's an Asian or the North American. And, of course, we know that the Asian will bite us. Well, it's a little late to control it then. So the other thing we should also know is that the Asian lady beetle is pushing out the regular endemic ones that should be here. As a result, it's important that you go and take and look and be careful not to get rid of the others, okay? Now, recently, we had the Pan Am Games, right? Well, all these people from other countries have been bringing things in, and with them have come a couple of things, but the one thing that was probably the worst was the very dangerous Carapa beetle. Now, this is a beetle that feeds on live grains. Doesn't matter whether it's wheat, barley, oats, rice, and flour or pasta or even chocolate. All love to eat or be eaten by this beetle. It was imported from Somalia and was actually stopped at the American border and, of course, identified and gone. Up to this point, it has never been found in North America. It's extremely hard to control. There was one small outbreak. They managed to control it. So what did they do with this after they identified it? They sent it back to Canada to be incinerated. So that's what happens. So we have to be on our guard. We do have a lot of invasive species. Think of the lily beetle. Now, the lily beetle is very hard to control. If you get it, a lot of people just stop growing lilies. With lilies, the lily beetle has actually gone and gotten so many insecticides thrown at it over the years that it's almost impervious to all of them. There's two that actually, let's just say, susceptible to. And that is neem oil and a type of fungus only found in the United States because it's the only place that it's licensed. And that makes it impossible to get here. And since it's a fungus and you actually apply it, then we know that you're not going to get it here. The PMRA has banned neem as even a leaf shine, so you can't get it. So, in the United States, they still have these controls to help with the lily beetles. This is not all of them. I mean, we know that the earwigs came on the wind up through New England, up across the Great Lakes, and is in Ontario and has been for over 20 years. Well, were carried on the wind. We have things like the Asian carp trying to make their way into the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes have gotten, and they have found a couple of fertile males, but no females yet. So they're trying to control them. There's a huge fine for actually even serving the Asian carp in Toronto. So if you're in a restaurant and they serve it, the fine on it is huge, even though it's maybe dead, because of the fact that it's going to be a problem. Now we know that nutria is coming. We know they've been slowly moving north from the Louisiana area and the bayous. And of course down there, they just shoot them on sight anytime, anywhere, as many as they want. At one time, there was even a bounty on them. Now they've moved north and they are in New York State. They're great swimmers. They look like a beaver rat and are actually quite large. They're bigger than a beaver, and they're herbivores, and they will come through, and you can forget your garden if they get into your vegetables or even your other herbaceous plants. So you know that they're coming, and they're great swimmers. So don't think the Niagara River or the Great Lakes is going to actually stop them. It's not. Just like we've got the opossums coming on trucks from the United States up here and surviving the winter. So we've got a lot of them. We've got the emerald ash borer and the Asian longhorn beetle from the Americans. And because people don't pay attention and they move firewood, that we have seen it spread across this province and even into Quebec. So when people say this is a controlled zone, please do not take wood of any kind out of there. People see skids and they think, oh, that'd be great, I'll go burn those. Well, that's how they got here in the first place, was in skids. So slowly we are getting inundated with all these invasive species. So when we say don't do this, don't do that, we mean it. And you might as well learn your lesson or learn your lesson the hard way. I mean, take a look at Phragmites. It grows in every ditch everywhere. Look at Lythrum. It's supposedly the sterile varieties weren't sterile when crossed with the wild ones, and they're endemic in the soil for 20 plus years. So you turn the soil over and all of a sudden you've got them again. Same thing with garlic mustard. Same thing. Another invasive species that just takes over. So we need to control them. We need to see them. And if you're going to control the lady beetles in Ontario, wear rubber gloves or neoprene gloves. Pick off the egg mass, which is actually coated in frass. We won't say what frass is. And it's slippery, it's slimy, and drop it into soapy water, a jar of soapy water. That's about the best. Your easiest way, actually, is to pick the entire leaf off and just go and drop it in, as opposed to trying just get the egg mass. Even so, I would still wear the gloves. So these are your challenges you have today. There will probably be more as we find and world travel brings invasive species from other places. So, and they say, don't bring in this and don't bring in that when you travel. Be aware that it's very, very dangerous. It's why certain countries like New Zealand, Australia, they actually spray the air in the aircraft over top of the passengers before they're allowed to get out of the actual airplane. I'm Bruce Zimmerman. This is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week.